Resistance bands can be a great addition to your training intensity. Adding a band to your lifting program can make the movement way more challenging at the end range of motion. But what about using bands all by themselves? If you use them all alone, can you still build muscle? And of course, the infamous answer here is it depends. When it comes to actually building muscle, you need a specific amount of stimulus and stress placed upon said muscle in order for your body to send signals telling it to grow. If you are new to lifting, then the amount of stimulus that you need to encourage this process is not a whole heck of a lot. This is called newbie gains, where if you simply start lifting weights and never have before, you can easily build muscle. In fact, there was a study done in untrained individuals showing that untrained individuals were able to build lower body muscle from just walking alone. That's how easy it is. Therefore, if you are new to lifting and stepping foot into a commercial gym just isn't in the cards right now, then using resistance bands can actually be a pretty effective tool to kickstart your results. But like all nice things, they too come to an end where eventually you're gonna evolve from being a beginner to an intermediate and then eventually advanced. Which begs the question, at that point in time, can you still build muscle using these? And I think if you are intelligent and intentional with your training, you should still be able to see the results that you're looking for. You remember how I said you can basically look at a weight when you're new to lifting and your muscles will just start growing just from looking at a weight? Well, as you advance, the next area of focus that needs to be prioritized is achieving progressive overload and mechanical tension. Progressive overload is where you gradually increase the weight, frequency, or the number of reps in a given training session, whereas mechanical tension is the primary stimulus for muscular growth. A good way to know if you are achieving mechanical tension is when at the end of a rep range, you are achieving what is known as involuntary slowing. So what that means is by the time you are done your rep range, the movement, the tempo of that movement is getting a lot slower, and you're not intentionally doing that. It's because you are accumulating a good amount of fatigue where the rep tempo is going down, where you are getting close to failure of that given set. So taking your sets close to failure most of the time is going to be a good idea when the goal is muscular growth. Now, being intentional with these two areas of focus when you are using resistance bands is going to be extremely important. To achieve progressive overload, I would ensure you are tracking your lifts and making an effort to either grab a heavier band or do at least one more rep the following week. To achieve mechanical tension, it may be a good idea to go outside of your prescribed rep range. Remember, we want to be taking your sets close to failure. And if your program calls for 3 sets of 10, but you are nowhere near failure by the end of those 10 reps, the mechanical tension isn't being accomplished, which remember is the primary stimulus for muscular growth. Therefore, if you have to do 15, 17, or 25 reps just to get to that close proximity of failure, then that's okay. That's going to be way more effective than just stopping when you've achieved your prescribed rep count. Now, it is important to note that the more reps that you do, the harder it becomes to gauge that close proximity to failure objectively. This is why so many bodybuilders stay within a 5 to 8 rep range. It's a lot easier to objectively ensure that they are achieving failure. Obviously, if you're training at home and having to rely on resistance bands, you don't have access to heavier weights. Therefore, you're gonna have to do higher reps to achieve that close proximity to failure that is needed to promote muscle growth. Now, this is okay initially. Eventually though, you may reach a high enough rep count where it just feels impossible to take those sets to failure, or it's taking too much of your time. And eventually there is going to be a bit of a diminishing return where either upgrading your home gym to get access to some cables, maybe some heavier resistance bands if you don't have them already, or maybe even considering stepping foot into a commercial gym. This, of course, is going to depend on your goals and where you're at with things. If you still have body composition changes that you're hoping to make for yourself, but you've outgrown your resistance bands that you have access to at home, that's where making some of these upgrades might need to be considered. Overall, there is going to be a point in time where you find that you're going to be outgrowing your home gym. It's inevitable. And I don't see anything wrong with that. Heck, I would take it as a good sign that you're making progress, that you're building the muscle that you're looking for, where you are lifting heavier than what you were originally starting at. Because if you're getting stronger, that's not just based off of how you were feeling. You have to build muscle in order to get stronger. That means that your body is changing. It's a good thing if one day you outgrow your home gym. But until then, if all you have access to is resistance bands, take the intensity with your training seriously and make sure that you prioritize achieving progressive overload and mechanical tension in order for you to see the results you are hoping for with resistance bands.